tour from now until we finish. First of all, she's going to take us to the college, the university, and from there we're going to go on the tour. So it's going to be great. Enjoy. Over to Paula. I'll be with you.
Originally, which is where my accent is from, I've been told you have Canadians amongst you.
Yeah.
Love that. I'm also president of the Canadian Student Society here, so I love finding Canadians in the city. Otherwise, I do study at the University of Oxford. I'm studying my PhD in history right now, although at Oxford we call it a DPhil because Oxford likes to be special. But I'm doing a PhD in history first year, so I've been living here for about a year now, enjoying all the cold weather and rain that England has to offer. We will be going into my college today, and you'll get a lot of the history of the town as we walk around as well. Please be very careful though as you cross streets because they will hit you with the cars in the city and the bicycles. Bicycles come very fast and they don't pay attention and they will run into tourists quite often. So just look both ways as we cross and try to stay together because you have strength in numbers. It's good. Otherwise, I do study history here, so if you have any questions, please ask your questions. I can hopefully answer all of them. I like to do this because it's the only time I can talk about history and people actually listen to it, so it's great. I'm really quite new to it. I'm just doing it for fun more than anything.
Yeah.
It's no car location past here. The bicycles will come the city is actually much older than the university, so we're going to be starting with the university tour, but I wanted to give you a little bit of history of the city first because it came much earlier than the university. So Oxford began officially in 877 AD when Anglo-Saxon kingdoms were across England, so there was many kings warring over certain areas. Now that's the official founding date we have, but it's not actually real. So there was a college of Oxford that tried to forge its documents claiming to have been around for a very long time in order to get some land. And so that date 877 actually comes from those fake documents we have from that university college. The real date we have for Oxford is one that has more recently happened at 9/11 we say, but some people still think 877 counts. That college definitely never admitted that they forged their documents, so they claim 877. But we can say Anglo-Saxon time period makes sense. We know that there was settlements here because there was an oxen ford here. Does anybody have a guess what an oxen ford means?
A river crossing for ox.
Exactly, a river crossing for oxen. So this was a great place for the oxen to cross the river during livestock movement. There's two rivers here at Oxford, the Isis and the Cherwell. The Isis is a northern extension of the Thames in London. So there was great connection between London and this area, which meant it was great for livestock trade, it was great for actual trade, and they had lots of shipping routes between here and London. So Oxford developed as a very wealthy merchant community originally, and unfortunately for that merchant community, because they were so wealthy and so easy to get to with rivers, it meant they were very easy to invade. So the Vikings came up the river many times in history, of course, and they would come straight to this very wealthy community, burn the whole place down after stealing a bunch of stuff, and they would later try to claim it for their own settlement, and then the Anglo-Saxons would come back in, they'd burn it down and try to claim it for their own settlement as well. So the first early years of Oxford is very war-torn between the Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings. And that means there's no actual scholarship that happens, it's just too dangerous as a location for scholarly work. So this university was born in the 1100s actually, much later than the town itself, and it came out of a law that was passed by the King of England. So in the 1100s, King Henry II of England got into an argument with the King of France over a woman. Her name was Eleanor of Aquitaine. And Eleanor was a very wealthy lady, and both the King of England and the King of France wanted to marry her. But she chose France first. She went to France, had a marriage happen, and then later on she actually had that marriage annulled, so it was broken. She came here to England and married the King of England in 8 weeks' time. You could imagine there was quite a lot of anger between the two kings because first of all, Henry thought she'd chosen France first, he was unhappy, And France was definitely unhappy that the Queen jumped ship and went over to England. So the kings did not like each other. And Henry mostly spoke French very well. They kind of acted quite French. And he was also annoyed that his wife had chosen France first. So he decided to pass a law saying that no more Englishmen can go to France anymore and study there. They must instead study to be Englishmen somewhere in England. And that is the birth of Oxford University, because there was just a small group of scholars that existed in England at the time here at Oxford. And suddenly every noble son who needs an education has to go somewhere. France is no longer possible, so they came to Oxford. So that's the beginning of the university. Today we're going to go into my college. It's called New College. Don't worry, it's not very new. But we'll go that direction in a second. Before we do, I want to point out this college here. This is called Balliol College, and it's one of the 3 first colleges of Oxford. It was actually what I consider to be the earliest college, but I did mention there's one other college that had forged founding documents, so they claim to be first as well, and much older than this, so it's a bit of a controversy who actually is first. But this college was founded in the 1200s, in 1263, and it has certain features you'll notice that are features of every college of Oxford. So it has very tall stone walls. It has bars on every single bottom window here. It has one entrance that's guarded at all times by a porter now, but originally by an armed guard. The reason being the colleges of Oxford are safety institutions, because when those students first moved here, the town hated them and they killed them quite often. So that's what happened to develop these colleges that students now live in. And the university has no main campus at all, really, because as more students came to the city and needed new places to live and study, they built a new building that would be a college, and they would move into the new building, and then they'd build another new building that would be a college, and so on and so on. So the university is scattered throughout the town. Students all live and eat and study in one of these colleges, and we have departments in the city we also go to lectures in. We also kind of go to all the town buildings as well. So this early divide between the town and the university is from really a lot of violence that happened towards students. Now, it sounds kind of funny, but really what happened was these people had been around for a very long time. This town has existed. They'd survived Viking invasions. They've survived a lot of troubles. And suddenly in the 1100s, you have a big influx of 11, 12, 13-year-old boys who are very wealthy and privileged and just don't care about following the rules of the city. So the students originally got into a lot of trouble. They would have a few fights in bars, they might kill a few peasants, but that didn't matter to them because they did not have to follow city law as members of the university. So they got away with a lot of crimes, and that's what led the town to actually massacre them whenever they got a chance. So that is our history. It's called the town versus the gown. We're going to start with the gown because we're starting with the university, but we'll come back to the town afterwards. It holds all of our archives, but there are over 100 libraries across the city that are associated with the university, so this is just one of them. I personally like it, and I'm sure most of you will, because it was built by a Canadian family. The Westons, right. Yeah, so they own President's Choice for those Canadians. They also are big supporters of Oxford, so they paid for this building here, and it's won a lot of awards for architectural reasons. But also it has some pretty cool exhibits on the inside, so I like that building. Also, which is "The Lord is my light." I just butchered the Latin, I'm sorry. But that is what it says, and it was actually the exact same motto and look of the original one they used at Cambridge for the early first years that they existed as a university. The reason being, Oxford and Cambridge were founded by Oxford students, so Cambridge was actually founded by students who left Oxford because of the violence in the city. There was 3 scholars that were lynched by a mob, and they decided to go elsewhere because they thought it was too dangerous here. So in 1209, those students left Oxford, went to Cambridge, and founded Cambridge University because of that. Are you guys going to Cambridge? No, well good. You came to the right option here, clearly. Definitely the best option. It's much prettier than Cambridge in every way.
Oh, we're going.
You are going.
Cambridge. We have one.
Sorry.
At some point you are going. Okay, well you guys can make your own comparison then. Confetti and chalk, you can tell, and glitter and silly string. That's because of examinations. When students finish their final exam, it's tradition at Oxford to cover them in as much gunk as you can. So students tend to have friends waiting outside the examination schools in order to do that tradition. That's what this is from. This here is our Bridge of Sighs. You will see another Bridge of Sighs when you go to Cambridge, because they have one as well, of course. Ours was actually built second because Cambridge built theirs first. And this is actually just a pedestrian walkway built in 1913 to connect the student accommodation for Hartford College with the professors' offices of Hartford College. So it's actually just a pedestrian walkway for students. The real Bridge of Sighs in Venice is actually what used to connect an old prison to an execution ground. So the term Bridge of Sighs comes from prisoners who would cross over the bridge on their last day of life, breathe the very last sigh as they looked across their home, and then be executed on the other side. And we have a joke, of course, that for students, that is still the same function of this bridge here. Because they live on one side in their prison, and they go over there to visit their supervisors on the other side where they meet their true execution. So. In the discipline of history, a lot of theory and arguing the nitty-gritty details. Yeah, they'll pay for us ahead of time, and then Stuart will invoice you for the whole thing. So they give me a receipt, don't worry.
Yeah.
New College. It was brand new when it was built in 1379. So the name New College comes from that, but it's actually one of the oldest colleges at Oxford now. It is my college, so of course it is home to the most intelligent students in the city. We're actually quite an artsy college, so we mostly have historians and philosophers and musicians. You'll hear our organ scholar probably playing. He's been playing all day, so he's practicing for his examinations. We have choir members. We have many music students in general here at this college. Lots of actors. Our biggest names are Hugh Grant and Kate Beckinsale, our two previous grads of our college. We have quite a large legacy in the arts. You were very privileged to have just seen those two cats walk by. There is a rule at Oxford that no person may keep a domesticated animal within a college ground, but our warden does have two dogs, and so at all times they must be referred to as cats because they are non-domesticated animals. Cats are considered to not be domesticable. The dogs are domesticated, so we have two cats in this college, which you just saw run across the lawn, very much so. So it actually leads to a tradition in Oxford colleges of keeping tortoises. You have a big This is a student of New College who was an Italian nobleman in the 1700s, but these upstairs were gifted them to college. And this is called Lazarus. It's a Jacob Epstein. He's a Jewish artist from America. It was bought and purchased and brought here in 1949. Very controversial to put a Jewish artist's work into an Anglican chapel. The reason being it was 1949 was the discussion of the Holocaust going on, and they wanted to show support for the Jewish communities. And so New College purchased it and died there for that reason. Okay, we're going to continue our discussion of our religion outside, so we're not going to
You're going to Sydney Uni?
When they standardized the examinations to Oxford, and every college was able to choose who came in based on that. The first college to break from the church was actually Balliol, so it was kind of the new, exciting thing to do, and all the other colleges followed suit. But Balliol, ironically, whilst being the first to break from the church, also the first to accept Jewish students and students of color, was the last to accept women in the city. So it was quite progressive to begin with, and then it failed significantly at the end there. So these colleges did not let women in until the 1970s, most of them in 1972, and then New College amongst them were some of the last in 1979 to finally let women study here in them. This changes how, I guess, the colleges are run in a lot of ways. So those women's colleges I mentioned are the poorest colleges of Oxford, and money is a huge definer of what colleges do in this city. We all have rankings based on how much money each college gets, and it affects the types of activities they pay for students. It affects what kind of students they bring in. So this old college has enough money to support the arts because it's quite old and it's quite rich. So we have many musicians, we have many actors, etc., because of that. Those women's colleges tend to bring in mostly business students who pay £50,000 per year to study here at Oxford, which is significantly higher than most other students. So the money comes from the students for those colleges, and they're actually mostly male now because they're mostly business students. And these ones being more on the artsy side have more females in them today, so it's a bit of a switch. All colleges, though, are male-female across Oxford now. That's not the same in Cambridge. There is still one college that is male only and one that's female only in Cambridge, so we still have some changes there. But here it's across the board, men and women across all the colleges. So I should also say, since we came over here, welcome to Hogwarts Castle. If you recognize any of these hallways, this is Hogwarts halls. So any scene where they walk through the hallways to get to class on their way to Quidditch, just when they're talking about things and investigating things or running, these 4 hallways here of New College. So they did a lot of CG work to replicate halls on both sides, some of them, so any outdoor hallways which have arches. And the indoor hallways are all these halls. You probably noticed a few portraits, the number of portraits on the walls they put in the Hogwarts halls cover up these things. So that is the famous scene, really, from the movie from here. Feel free to take lots of photos, though. I can take photos for people if you like as well. A couple of photos. I have learned a lot about technology. I know every camera there is. Yeah. Yourself a spot here in the hall. You sit down behind the professors of the college. They always enter in a procession line. Everybody has to stand up. When they are seated, the common place, which is that special chair right there, actually. There's always one person of seniority who is the most senior position in the college. Not always the dean, which I think bugs him a lot actually, but generally it's the person who's been the longest at New College. So they're given the senior spot, and they say grace for the whole group. Then we all are allowed to sit down at that point. They're served first. They always get a better version of what you get down here. I'll tell you that. Then you must stay seated the whole time. There's no standing up during formal hall. We have a head butler who watches all the students with his eyes, makes sure no one stands up until the high table is finished eating, and then they get up and leave. They go off to second desserts, of course, and then as students we also go off to second desserts of our own. So it's quite an opulent affair, and because we colleges are these rich old colleges, we actually have this 3 times a week here at Oxford. And then we have an extra one every 2 weeks for guests. So it's a lot of people to know the dog is quiet. And ours is quite inexpensive. Also very cheap, but that depends on the college. They're the young boys' choir that trains our choir, so they're not actually studying here, they're just practicing choir. This is their singer. For it to officially be considered an Oxford college. So it has to have a place for students to sleep, it has to have a place for students to eat, it has to have a place for students to study, there's always a library, it has to have a place to pray, so you saw the chapel already, but most importantly it has to have a place to play croquet. Literally the 5th requirement of Oxford College. Our croquet lawn is on the other side of that wall there. It's a very big featured part of our college, and you are looking at the New College team captain of croquet here.
Congratulations.
I'd like to put that fact in personally. You shouldn't applaud though because we lost in the 3rd round of our competition this year. And when you ask me who was better, Cambridge or Oxford, Cambridge just won the croquet competition yesterday actually, so they beat us in croquet this year and it broke my heart. Next year I'm going for the Oxford team though, so I can beat Cambridge. So that wall is actually the original city wall of Oxford. It's the oldest part of the whole city that you'll ever see in Oxford. I kind of pointed out where we were standing was where Balliol College was first built. The wall was on that street originally, it ran all the way down to here. It's in perfect condition right now because when New College was first built, they had to actually agree to maintain the defenses of the city. So you'll see they're in perfect condition, and they're still inspected every 3 years by City Council, just in case we weren't maintaining those defenses. Clearly they're not defending much except for those of the undergrad accommodations over there, so we're just protected from those if we need to. But it's kind of a fun feature to still have. Our gardener is the 2nd highest paid position in this college, so we have beautiful gardens for that reason. Actually the dean is not the highest paid either. I'm pretty sure our chef outranks him too. I didn't mention, but there's a seat of seniority, and the dean does not always make the seat of seniority at dinner. On those occasions, if the dean is aware that someone who outranks him comes to dinner, he does not attend. He does not like to be outranked by other people, our dean. It's kind of funny. And this mound here is actually more decorative than anything right now. There's nothing at the top of it. Originally though, it was used for students to be able to view what happened outside the city wall. So outside the city is where all the fun things happened, of course. That's where all the gambling happened, that's where all the bear baiting and dog fights happened out there. If the mummers came and put on productions, it all happened out there. Prostitution was all out there mostly too. And the students, of course, wanted to be part of the fun, but they could never mix with the plebs, those peasants. So they had their own viewing platform here at New College. So they can look upon all those peasants outside and not have to mix with them.